Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the stars through the large viewing window. The ship moved slowly through space near the Kepler 442 system. It was a quiet day, just like many others in the past few months. Jake had been patrolling this area of space for 2 years now, and nothing exciting ever happened here. "Captain, we are getting some strange readings on the long-range sensors," said Lisa Kane, the ship's navigator. She was looking at her screen with a confused expression on her face. Jake walked over to her station and looked at the display. "What kind of readings?" "Something big is coming out of hyperspace, sir. Really big. Actually, many big things." Before Jake could respond, the space in front of them began to twist and bend. Bright flashes of light appeared, and then massive ships started coming out of nowhere. These ships were unlike anything Jake had ever seen. They were huge, much bigger than any human ship, and they looked like they were made of crystal and metal, combined together. "Holy—" Ryan Walsh, the chief engineer, stopped himself from cursing. He was staring at the alien ships with his mouth open. "Captain, those ships are at least 10 times bigger than our biggest battleships." Amy Foster, the communications officer, suddenly spoke up. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from the alien ships. It's being broadcast on all frequencies. Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered. The screen flickered and then a face appeared. It was clearly not human. The creature had pale blue skin, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and no visible nose. When it spoke, its voice was cold and mechanical. "I am Admiral Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire. You primitive humans have been observed and evaluated. Your species has expanded beyond your home system without permission from the Galactic Authority. This will not be tolerated." Jake felt his heart start beating faster. He had always known that humanity might meet other intelligent species someday, but he never expected it to happen like this. The alien continued speaking. "You have 48 hours to remove all human presence from space beyond your home star system. Return to Earth and stay there. If you do not comply, we will remove you by force. This is not a negotiation. This is an order." The transmission ended and the bridge fell silent. Jake looked around at his crew. They all looked scared and confused. "Captain," Lisa said quietly, "sensors show that there are over 3,000 alien ships out there. Our entire human fleet has maybe 500 ships total." Jake knew the situation was bad, but he had to try something. "Amy, open a channel to the lead alien ship." "Channel open, sir. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Space Forces. We request a meeting to discuss this situation peacefully. Surely we can find a solution that works for everyone. The Hein." Alien's face appeared on the screen again, but this time it looked amused. "Captain Morrison, your species is new to space travel. You do not understand how things work in the galaxy. We have conquered 43 different species across thousands of star systems. Your technology is primitive. Your weapons cannot even scratch our ship's shields. There is nothing to discuss." The screen went black again, and Jake clenched his fists. He activated the ship's emergency communication system to contact Earth immediately. On Earth, President Helen Carter was in an emergency meeting with her top military advisors. The news from Captain Morrison had reached Earth just 2 hours ago, and everyone was in panic mode. "General Rivera, what are our options?" President Carter asked. General Carlos Rivera, a man with gray hair and tired eyes, shook his head slowly. "Madam President, our options are very limited. Our intelligence teams have been studying the alien ships from long-range observations. Their technology is far beyond ours. Their shields can stop nuclear weapons. Their guns can destroy entire cities with one shot," Admiral Beth Thompson, the head of the Space Navy, added. "We ran computer simulations based on what we observed. Even if we used every ship and weapon we have, we would lose the fight in less than 6 hours. These aliens are not bluffing about their power." President Carter looked around the room at the faces of her advisors. Everyone looked defeated before the fight had even started. "So you're telling me we have no choice but to give up?" she asked. "I'm afraid so, Madam President," General Rivera replied. "We have to think about saving human lives. If we fight them, they will destroy our colonies and maybe even attack Earth itself. We cannot let that happen." Back in space, more human ships were arriving at the scene. Captain Morrison watched as dozens of human vessels came to investigate the alien fleet. But compared to the massive alien ships, the human fleet looked like small toys. The alien ships began moving into formation, clearly preparing to enforce their ultimatum. Some moved toward the human colonies, while others positioned themselves to block any escape routes. Captain Morrison received messages from other human ship captains. They all wanted to know what they should do. Some wanted to fight, even though they knew they would lose. Others thought they should surrender immediately to save lives. "Captain," Lisa said, "we're receiving new orders from Earth Command." Jake looked at the message on his personal screen. The orders were clear. All human ships were to begin immediate withdrawal from the outer systems. The colonies were to be evacuated as quickly as possible. Humanity was giving up without a fight. Over the next day, human ships began leaving their positions and heading back toward Earth. The evacuation ships started loading colonists and their belongings. Everything humanity had built in the outer systems was being abandoned. The Zephyrian ships watched but did not interfere. Admiral Vextar seemed satisfied that the humans were following orders. To him, this was exactly what always happened when the Zephyrian Empire encountered a new species. Show overwhelming force, make demands, and watch the primitive aliens surrender. As Captain Morrison's ship joined the retreat toward Earth, he felt angry and helpless. Humanity had spent decades building colonies and exploring space, and now they were giving it all up because some aliens told them to. But Jake did not know that this retreat was not what it seemed. Far away, in secret locations throughout the solar system, other plans were already in motion, plans that the Zephyrians knew nothing about. Admiral Vextar watched the human ships retreating with satisfaction. From his command bridge on the massive flagship, he could see hundreds of small human vessels moving slowly back toward their home system. The humans were doing exactly what he expected them to do. "Commander Zeklon, report on the human withdrawal," Vextar ordered. His second-in-command, a tall alien with silver skin and 6 arms, checked his instruments. "Admiral, the humans are evacuating their colonies as ordered. Their ships are moving at standard speeds, following predictable routes back to Earth. Some of their vessels appear to be having engine problems and are moving even slower." Vextar made a sound that was similar to human laughter. "These humans are even more primitive than our scouts reported. They cannot even maintain their ships properly during a simple retreat." The Zephyrian fleet spread out across human space, taking control of strategic positions. They moved slowly, confident that there was no threat from the retreating humans. Some Zephyrian ships went to the abandoned human colonies to claim them for the Empire. Others positioned themselves along the major space routes to make sure the humans did not try to come back. But the Zephyrians did not know about the secret meeting that had taken place on Earth 3 months earlier. Dr. Nathan Cross sat in a hidden, underground facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. He was a thin man with thick glasses who looked more like a college professor than a weapons designer. But for the past 15 years, he had been working on projects that could change the future of human warfare. "The Aurora project is ready for field testing," he told General Rivera through a secure video link. "We have successfully created weapons that work on completely different principles than anything the aliens have ever seen." General Rivera was, in another secret location, coordinating what appeared to be humanity's surrender but was actually the largest deception in human history. "Dr. Cross, are you absolutely sure these weapons will work against alien technology?" "General, their shields are designed to stop energy weapons and physical projectiles. Our new weapons use exotic matter that exists in a different quantum state. Their shields cannot even detect this type of attack, much less stop it." While the main human fleet continued its slow retreat, smaller ships began disappearing from both human and alien sensors. Commander Tony Blake was piloting one of these invisible ships. His vessel, the Phantom, was equipped with experimental cloaking technology that bent light and electromagnetic radiation around the ship. "This is incredible," said his co-pilot, Lieutenant Karen Webb. "I can see the alien ships on our sensors, but they cannot see us at all." Tony was carefully moving his ship closer to a group of Zephyrian vessels. "Dr. Cross's team really outdid themselves with this cloaking system. We can get close enough to study their technology," without them knowing we exist. The Phantom was not alone. 12 other stealth ships were scattered throughout the area, all of them invisible to Zephyrian sensors. They were gathering information about alien ship designs, weapon systems, and communication frequencies. On one of these stealth ships, Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Mitchell was leading a special operations team. Her job was to get close enough to alien ships to plant listening devices and scanners. "Colonel, we have successfully attached monitoring equipment to 3 alien vessels," reported Sergeant Mike Turner. "We are now receiving data about their internal communications and ship operations." Sarah smiled as she looked at the information flowing across her screens. "Perfect. The aliens think we are primitive, so they are not even trying to hide their communications. We can listen to everything they are saying." Meanwhile, the so-called evacuation of human colonies was actually a massive military mobilization. Ships that looked like civilian transports were actually carrying soldiers and weapons to hidden bases throughout the solar system. Dr. Elena Vasquez was overseeing the final preparations at a secret research station near Jupiter. "The gravitational resonance bombs are ready for deployment," she reported to General Rivera. "We have discovered that alien shield technology has a critical weakness. If we can create the right type of gravitational disturbance, their shields will collapse completely." Back on Earth, President Carter was meeting with selected members of Congress in a secure underground bunker. Most of the world believed that humanity was surrendering, but a small group of leaders knew the truth. "Madam President," said Senator Robert Hayes, "are we really going to risk everything on this plan? If it fails, the aliens might destroy Earth itself." President Carter looked tired but determined. "Senator, if we surrender now, we will never be free again. These aliens have conquered dozens of other species. They will turn us into slaves. We have to fight, even if the odds are against us." The Zephyrians continued to watch the human retreat, without suspicion. Admiral Vextar was already planning how to divide human territory among the different species in his empire. "Commander Zeklon, have there been any changes in human behavior?" he asked. "No, Admiral. They continue to withdraw, as ordered. A few of their ships have disappeared from our sensors, but we assume they had mechanical failures and were destroyed. Humans are known to have unreliable technology. But the disappeared ships were not destroyed. They were hiding in asteroid fields behind moons and in the shadows of planets. Human engineers like Chief Petty Officer Daniel Kim were working around the clock to modify these ships with the new weapons technology." "The installation is complete," Daniel reported to his captain. "Our ship now has 3 different types of exotic matter weapons. The aliens will not know what hit them. Similar modifications were being made to hundreds of human ships in secret locations throughout the solar system. While the aliens watched the obvious retreat, they completely missed the hidden preparation for war. Commander Tony Blake's reconnaissance mission made a crucial discovery. While studying alien communication patterns, his team learned that the Zephyrian Empire was not as strong as it appeared. "Colonel Mitchell, you need to see this," Blake transmitted on a secure channel. "The aliens rule their empire through fear and intimidation. Most of their subject species were never actually defeated in battle. They surrendered immediately when they saw the size of the Zephyrian fleet." Sarah Mitchell realized the importance of this information. "So they have never actually fought a war against a species that refused to give up?" "Exactly. And there is more. Their military tactics are designed for intimidation, not actual combat. They expect their enemies to surrender after seeing their superior technology." As the 48-hour deadline approached, the Zephyrians prepared to take full control of human space. They had no idea that humanity was about to show them something they had never encountered before in their thousands of years of conquest. The trap was set, and soon the hunters would become the hunted. The 48-hour deadline had passed. Admiral Vexitar watched with satisfaction as human ships continued their slow retreat toward Earth. His massive fleet had spread across human space without any resistance. Everything was going exactly as he had planned. "Admiral, all sectors report the same thing," said Commander Zeklon. "The humans are evacuating their colonies and returning to their home system. They are moving slowly, but they are following our orders." Vextar smiled, showing his sharp alien teeth. "Another primitive species learns to fear the Zephyrian Empire. Soon we will control their resources and add their territory to our domain." At that moment, something happened that no Zephyrian had ever experienced before. 3 of their ships, in the distant Tau Ceti system, suddenly exploded without warning. The ship simply broke apart and died with no visible cause. "What just happened?" Vexitar demanded, staring at his tactical display in confusion. Before anyone could answer, more red warning lights appeared on the screens. Zephyrian ships throughout human space were being destroyed by something their sensors could not detect or understand. Far away, Commander Tony Blake was flying his invisible ship through a group of Zephyrian vessels. His ship used new cloaking technology that made it completely undetectable. The exotic matter weapons on his ship could pass through alien shields like they were not there. "Target acquired," said Lieutenant Karen Webb, his weapons officer, firing exotic matter torpedo. The weapon looked like a small sphere of twisted energy. It moved silently through space and passed right through the Zephyrian ship's powerful shields. When it hit the hull, it created a small gravitational collapse that tore the alien vessel apart from the inside. "Direct hit. Enemy ship destroyed," Webb reported calmly. Similar attacks were happening all across human space. The stealth ships that the Zephyrians thought had been destroyed were actually launching a massive coordinated assault. Each invisible, human ship could destroy several alien vessels before moving to a new hunting ground. Captain Jake Morrison was no longer pretending to retreat. His ship, the Defiance, had been secretly equipped with the new weapons and was leading the first open human attack against the Zephyrian fleet. "All ships, this is Captain Morrison. Operation Prometheus begins now. Attack formation Delta. Time. To show these aliens what angry humans can do." The human ships that had been retreating suddenly turned around and charged toward the nearest Zephyrian vessels at full speed. The aliens were so shocked that they hesitated for several precious seconds before responding. "This is impossible," Admiral Vextar said, watching human ships that should have been running away suddenly attack his forces. "Their primitive weapons cannot harm our advanced shields." But the human weapons were not trying to break through the shields. Dr. Cross's exotic matter technology simply ignored the Zephyrian defenses completely. Ships that had never been damaged in thousands of battles were suddenly exploding all around the alien fleet. Admiral Beth Thompson was commanding the main human battle group from her flagship, the Vengeance. She had been planning this moment for months, waiting for the perfect time to strike. "All ships prepare to fire gravitational resonance bombs," she ordered. "Let these invaders learn what happens when they threaten human freedom." The bombs were Dr. Vasquez's greatest creation. When they exploded near Zephyrian ships, they created distortions in the fabric of space itself. The alien shields designed to stop energy and matter could not protect against attacks on space-time itself. The shields failed, and the crystalline hulls of the ships cracked like broken glass. In the Ross 128 system, an entire Zephyrian battle group of 50 ships was completely destroyed in just 8 minutes. The aliens had never faced anything like human tactics and weapons before. The most shocking moment came when Zephyrian forces threatened the human colony on Kepler 186f. About 12,000 colonists lived there, and a Zephyrian fleet was approaching to destroy the settlement as punishment for human resistance. Colonel Marcus Brown commanded the colony's defense forces. When he saw the alien ships coming, he made a decision that would horrify the Zephyrians and show them something they had never seen before. "All military personnel, this is Colonel Brown. We cannot stop that alien fleet from reaching our world, but we can make sure they regret coming here." Brown ordered his engineers to overload every fusion reactor on the planet simultaneously. The resulting explosion was so massive that it briefly created an artificial star. The human colony was completely destroyed, but so were all 38 Zephyrian ships that had been approaching the planet. Admiral Vexitar watched the explosion from his command ship and felt something he had never experienced: genuine fear. "They destroyed their own people just to kill our ships? What kind of creatures are these humans?" Commander Zeklon was equally disturbed. "Admiral, in all our conquest across the galaxy, No species has ever chosen mutual destruction over surrender. This behavior is completely beyond our understanding. The human attacks continued without pause. Every time the Zephyrians thought they had figured out human tactics, the humans did something completely unexpected. Human ships would appear from empty space, destroy alien vessels, and vanish before the Zephyrians could respond. Dr. Vasquez's research teams were working day and night in hidden laboratories throughout the solar system. They were studying captured Zephyrian technology and learning how to turn it against its creators. Chief Petty Officer Daniel Kim was leading one of these technical teams. "Admiral Thompson, we have broken their communication codes," Daniel reported, excitedly. "We can now listen to all their military transmissions and even send false orders to their ships." The psychological damage to Zephyrian forces was becoming as severe as the physical destruction. These aliens had conquered 43 different civilizations, but they had never fought an enemy that refused to give up. Every other species had either surrendered quickly or been crushed by superior firepower. Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Mitchell was running intelligence operations from a mobile command center. Her teams had discovered something that could change the entire war. "General Rivera, we are receiving secret communications from several species within the Zephyrian Empire," Sarah reported. "They want to know how we are beating Zephyrian forces. Many of them are asking if we can help them fight for their own freedom." General Rivera immediately understood the importance of this development. "Sarah, establish contact with these rebel groups. If we can convince the Empire's own subjects to turn against them, we can win this war." The first day of actual fighting ended with devastating losses for the Zephyrian Empire. They had lost over 400 ships while destroying only 15 human vessels, most of which were old ships that humanity had deliberately sacrificed. Admiral Vextar found himself in a position he had never been in before. He was losing a war. For the first time in the Empire's history, one of their fleets was being defeated by supposedly primitive opponents. "High Command, this is Admiral Vextar," he transmitted back to the Zephyrian homeworld. "The human species is not behaving according to any known patterns. They have weapons we do not understand and use tactics that make no logical sense. Request immediate reinforcements." The reply from Zephyrian High Command was cold and threatening. "Admiral Vextar, failure is not acceptable to the Empire. Either destroy these humans completely, or do not bother returning home." For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Vextar felt afraid, not just of the humans, but of his own empire that would destroy him if he could not win this impossible war against these strange, fierce creatures who refused to accept defeat. 3 weeks had passed since the human counterattack began, and the war had spread across multiple star systems. Admiral Vextar found himself in a situation he had never experienced before. His forces were losing. "Admiral, we have lost contact with Battle Group 7 in the Proxima system," reported Commander Zeklon. His voice carried a tone of fear that had never been there before. "That is the 5th battle group we have lost this week." Vextar stared at the tactical display showing the locations of his remaining ships. Red marks indicated where Zephyrian fleets had been destroyed by human forces. There were too many red marks. "How is this possible?" Vexatar asked, though he was really talking to himself. "We have conquered 43 species across the galaxy. None of them could stand against us for more than a few days." The answer to his question was happening in the Alpha Centauri system, where Admiral Jake Morrison was leading a human attack on a major Zephyrian command station. His fleet had grown to include ships from 6 different species that had rebelled against Zephyrian rule. "Admiral Morrison, this is Captain Lisa Kane," came the voice over the communication system. Lisa was now commanding her own ship after being promoted. "Our allied forces report they are ready to begin the assault." Jake looked at his display showing the massive Zephyrian station. It was the size of a small moon and protected by hundreds of defensive weapons. 3 months ago, attacking such a target would have been suicide for human forces. "All ships commence attack. Remember, we are not just fighting for humanity anymore. We are fighting for the freedom of every species in this galaxy." The human attack was unlike anything the Zephyrians had prepared for. Instead of approaching directly, human ships used the gravitational fields of nearby planets to slingshot themselves at incredible speeds. They appeared from multiple directions at once, making it impossible for the station's defenses to target them all. Engineer Ryan Walsh, now serving as Jake's tactical officer, had spent weeks studying the station's design. "Admiral, I have found the weakness in their defensive grid. If we can hit 3 specific points at the same time, their entire shield system will collapse." The attack was perfectly coordinated. Human ships equipped with Dr. Cross's phase shift weapons struck all 3 targets simultaneously. The weapons passed through multiple dimensions to hit their targets, completely ignoring the station's armor and shields. The massive Zephyrian command station began to break apart from the inside. Emergency lights flashed as internal explosions tore through the structure. Within minutes, the station that had controlled Zephyrian forces across 12 star systems was nothing but floating debris. But the most important part of the battle was not the destruction of the station. Ryan Walsh's technical team had managed to access the station's computer systems before it was destroyed. "Admiral, we have downloaded their entire military database," Ryan reported excitedly. "We now have complete information about Zephyrian, fleet positions, communication codes, and battle plans. This intelligence breakthrough changed everything. Human forces could now predict where Zephyrian ships would be and what they would do before the aliens made their moves." Dr. Cross's weapons development program had also achieved another major breakthrough. Working with captured Zephyrian technology, his team had created new weapons that were even more devastating than the originals. "General Rivera, the phase shift cannons are ready for deployment," Dr. Cross reported from his secret laboratory. "These weapons can target enemy ships across multiple dimensions simultaneously. There is no defense against them in known physics." The FAE. New weapons were installed on human ships throughout the fleet. Captain Tony Blake's stealth squadron was among the first to receive them. His invisible ships could now destroy entire groups of Zephyrian vessels without being detected. "This is incredible," said Lieutenant Webb as she watched 3 Zephyrian cruisers simply disappear from existence. "The weapons are not just destroying the ships, they are removing them from space-time completely." The psychological impact on Zephyrian forces was becoming as devastating as the physical damage. Alien species throughout the Empire were beginning to question why they should remain loyal to masters who could not protect them. Commander Sarah Mitchell's diplomatic teams were working with rebel groups on dozens of worlds. The message was always the same. Humanity was offering them the weapons and knowledge they needed to win their own freedom. "General Rivera, we have received formal requests for alliance from 18 different species," Sarah reported. "They are offering to provide ships and soldiers to fight alongside us against the Zephyrian Empire." General Rivera realized that humanity had accomplished something unprecedented in galactic history. They had turned the Zephyrian Empire's own subjects against them. "Sarah, prepare formal alliance agreements with all species that request them, but make it clear that we are not trying to replace the Zephyrian Empire with a human empire. We want a galaxy where every species is free to govern itself." The Battle of Proxima became the turning point of the war. Admiral Beth Thompson commanded a combined fleet of human and allied ships against the largest remaining Zephyrian battle group. The Zephyrians tried to use their traditional tactics of overwhelming firepower and intimidation. They arranged their ships in a massive formation designed to strike fear into their enemies. But fear was no longer effective against humans and their allies. The combined fleet attacked using tactics that combined conventional warfare with exotic physics weapons. Human ships would appear to retreat, drawing Zephyrian ships into carefully prepared traps where Allied forces would destroy them with captured alien technology. "All ships, execute Maneuver Omega," Admiral Thompson ordered. "Show them what happens when free beings fight together." The battle lasted for 6 hours. When it was over, the entire Zephyrian battle group had been destroyed. Not a single human or allied ship was lost. Dr. Vasquez's research teams had been studying the wreckage of destroyed Zephyrian ships and had made a disturbing discovery. The alien empire was far more fragile than anyone had realized. "General Rivera, the Zephyrian Empire is held together entirely by the belief that they cannot be defeated," she reported. "Their subject species only obey because they think resistance is hopeless. But we have proven that the Zephyrians can be beaten News of human victories was spreading throughout the galaxy faster than the Zephyrians could control. Species that had been enslaved for centuries were beginning to rebel. Zephyrian forces found themselves fighting wars on dozens of different fronts. Admiral Vextar received an emergency communication from the Zephyrian High Command. The message was brief and terrifying. Admiral Vextar, the Empire is facing rebellion. In 47 systems. Our forces are being defeated everywhere. You will return to the home system immediately with all remaining ships. The High Command is implementing the final protocol. Vextar knew what the final protocol meant. The Zephyrian leadership was planning to destroy entire star systems rather than lose control of them. Billions of innocent beings would die. For the first time in his military career, Vextar began to question whether his empire deserved to survive. These humans and their allies were offering something the galaxy had never seen before, a chance for every species to be truly free. The idea of war was no longer about human survival. It had become a fight for the future of the entire galaxy. The Zephyrian home system was heavily defended with thousands of weapons platforms, and the last remaining ships of their once mighty fleet. Admiral Vextar had positioned his forces around the home planet, preparing for what he knew would be the final battle. Admiral, long-range sensors detect a massive fleet approaching, reported Commander Zeklon. It appears to be every human ship in existence, plus vessels from at least 30 different allied species. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the display showing the Zephyrian homeworld. Behind him was the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. Ships from dozens of species that had been enslaved by the Zephyrians were now fighting together for their freedom. Admiral Morrison, this is Captain Lisa Kane aboard the Harmony, came a voice over the communication system. All allied fleets report ready for the final assault. Jake looked at the tactical display. The enemy had over 2,000 ships defending their home system, but many of them were damaged from previous battles. His combined fleet had nearly 4,000 vessels, including the most advanced warships humanity had ever built. All ships. This is Admiral Morrison. Today we end thousands of years of tyranny, but remember, we are not here to destroy these people. We are here to free them and everyone else in the galaxy. Dr. Vasquez had prepared humanity's most powerful weapon for this battle. It was a device that could destabilize the quantum foundations of an entire planet, making all Zephyrian technology useless. But Jake had made a difficult decision about whether to use it. The battle began when Zephyrian forces opened fire with weapons designed to destroy entire fleets. But the Allied ships had been equipped with modified Zephyrian shield technology that could deflect these attacks. Captain Tony Blake's stealth squadron struck first, appearing behind enemy lines to destroy key command ships. His invisible vessels used the new phase shift weapons to eliminate Zephyrian admirals before they could coordinate their defenses. Target destroyed, reported Lieutenant Webb. Enemy fleet command structure is breaking down. The main battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ships from 30 different species fought side by side, using tactics that combined the best ideas from all their cultures. Human creativity, Altarian precision, Cathani speed, and Morvan strength all worked together. Admiral Beth Thompson commanded one wing of the attack, leading former Zephyrian subject species who had suffered under alien rule for centuries. These beings fought with a fury that surprised even the humans. Admiral Thompson, this is Captain Vorth of the Altarian Defense Force, came a voice speaking broken English. My people have waited 300 years for this moment. We will not fail. The Zephyrian defenses began to collapse as their ships were overwhelmed by the sheer number of attackers. But Admiral Vextar had one final desperate plan. Activate the planetary destruction system, he ordered. If we cannot rule the galaxy, then no one will destroy everything. The Zephyrian homeworld began to glow as massive weapons deep beneath its surface, prepared to create an explosion that would destroy every ship in the star system, including their own. Engineer Ryan Walsh detected the energy buildup on his sensors. Admiral Morrison, the aliens are preparing to destroy their own planet. The explosion will kill everyone in this system, including billions of civilians. Jake had seconds to make a decision that would affect the future of the galaxy. He could Use Dr. Vasquez's quantum destabilizer to stop the Zephyrian weapon, but it would make their entire planet uninhabitable, or he could try a different approach. All ships, emergency transmission to the Zephyrian fleet, Jake ordered. This is Admiral Morrison. We know about your planetary weapon. We can stop it, but only if you surrender immediately. We do not want to destroy your people. We want to free them. Admiral Vextar was surprised by the human message. In all his years of conquest, no enemy had ever offered mercy when they had the upper hand. Admiral, the humans could easily destroy our planet, Commander Zeklon said quietly. Their weapons are far more advanced than ours now, but they are offering to spare our people. Dr. Cross's team had been working frantically to find a way to disable the planetary weapon without destroying the planet. Admiral Morrison, we can neutralize their weapon system, but we need the access codes from their command ship. Jake opened a direct communication channel to Admiral Vextar. Admiral, you have 30 seconds to give us the codes to stop your weapon, or we will be forced to use our own weapon to protect the innocent people in this system. Vextar looked around at his bridge crew. These beings had served the Empire faithfully for decades, but now they were all looking at him with expressions that asked the same question. Was the Empire worth destroying everything for? Admiral, our own families live on the homeworld, Zeklon said softly. The humans are offering us a chance to save them. Vextar realized that the war was truly over. The Zephyrian Empire had been built on fear, and the belief that resistance was hopeless. But these humans had proven that any empire could fall if enough people were willing to fight for freedom. Transmitting access codes to human fleet, Vextar announced. All Zephyrian ships cease fire and prepare to surrender. Dr. Cross's team used the codes to shut down the planetary weapon just minutes before it would have exploded. The homeworld was saved, along with the 3 billion Zephyrians who lived there. The surrender ceremony took place on a neutral space station. President Helen Carter arrived from Earth to represent humanity, along with leaders from all the allied species. Admiral Vextar, President Carter said, humanity is not interested in ruling an empire. We propose the creation of the Galactic Freedom Alliance, where every species governs itself and no one has the power to enslave others. The terms of surrender were unlike anything in galactic history. The Zephyrian Empire was dissolved, but its people were not punished. Instead, they were offered membership in the new alliance as equals. Captain Lisa Kane was appointed as humanity's first galactic ambassador. Her job was to help former Zephyrian worlds transition to self-government and ensure that no new empire could rise to replace the old one. 5 years later, Admiral Jake Morrison returned to Earth as a hero. The planet had changed dramatically. Humans now served as peacekeepers and explorers throughout the galaxy, helping other species solve problems and discover new worlds. President Carter, now in her second term, met with Jake in the same room where they had planned humanity's surrender 5 years earlier. Admiral, our exploration fleets have detected signs of another large empire in the Andromeda galaxy, she said. They appear to be moving toward our galaxy. Jake smiled and looked out the window at Earth's blue skies. Humanity had learned something important during the war with the Zephyrians. True power did not come from having the biggest weapons or the most ships. It came from being willing to fight for something bigger than yourself. Madam President, if this new empire is anything like the Zephyrians, they are about to learn that freedom is the most powerful force in the universe. The galaxy was finally free, and humanity stood ready to defend that freedom against any threat. They had thought they knew power, but they had discovered something much more important. They knew justice.